As life continues from a hotel room in Macon, Georgia, it is Thursday Thoughts here on SDH. John here, you there. Here's the rundown for today. It's kind of busy, but it's cool busy, and we like cool busy. You know that hour number 2 is the Power Hour with our buddy Nino Torres from Gold TV, and he comes in fully loaded where we take the tour around the world in about 30 minutes. Then our buddy Nico Moreno, if he's on his second or third cup of coffee, he's going to join us last half hour of the show. He will break down what happened last night. Very busy night in Seattle when it came to CONCACAF and La Máquina, Cruz Azul and Seattle. We'll get into that coming up, as well as MLS after 2 weeks from the Western perspective. We'll get into the Western Conference and his thoughts and go over the news of the day. We got stuff from FIFA and discussing Club World Cup dollars, and it starts with the letter B. We've got stuff from a new Women's Champions Cup instead of a new Women's World Cup, a new Women's Club World Cup. So we've got that coming up with FIFA as well. A couple of countries have said, okay, we're going to complete our bid processes for certain World Cup dates. One in 2031 with a country that you know, one in 2035 that's a country that you'd have to travel to. So it looks like it might be a joint bid. We'll get into that. We got UCL to get into from yesterday, where it was shots aplenty and none went into the back of the net because of a keeper from Liverpool. We'll go over CONCACAF from yesterday. And we've got a coach that's got a 9-month ban. We've got, gee whiz, we got a bunch of stuff. We'll get you through the news of the morning. But because we are in a no dilly, no dally zone, I'm pushing opening kickoff back past this interview because, and this is where we go to one of our favorite hangouts, because the BLT is ridiculous. And I mean that in the most positive way humanly possible. We get to talk a little WPSL. And we get to catch up with the new general manager of Decatur FC, Joel Gould. And Joel, it's great to see you. And I love the backdrop because I know that BLT sandwich from that particular location at O'Sullivan's. Very, very early morning for you. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. Appreciate you having me and very happy to be here. So,
all right, let's boogie and talk about last year and talk about you and the GM position and all these kinds of things. I guess when it comes to you and being a part of this front office, why now and what spurred you into this decision? It's like, yeah, I want to be in the front office of this franchise here in the WPSL.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it all happened fairly organically. Last season, Gareth O'Sullivan, the owner of Decatur FC, had found out in pretty mid to late April that we were going to have a team. Something he'd been working on for a couple of years, and it just happened real quickly. And, at the time, I think a buddy of mine and my daughter was in her last season of high school football at Decatur, and we were working the booth, the clock, and announcements, and we heard about Gareth's team. We're like, oh, man, this would be fun. Let's see if we can be a part of this. And, just kind of guy fun and doing games on Saturdays. And that kind of started it, right? Gareth was like, yeah, if you want to work for free and work the booth, that'd be great, right? And so we were doing that. And then things just kind of snowballed, I think. We were having our first meeting kind of Monday of game week. And, we were hopeful to get maybe 100 people in the stands. We thought maybe parents and some siblings would come. And I think by Tuesday we had like 300 tickets sold, and we thought, wow, this is fantastic. What a great example of how Decatur supports, the community. And by Friday, I think, we're at 700, 800, and ultimately on game day, we hit 1,800 on our first game. Right.
Yeah.
So, it was this kind of small collective group of people who were kind of helping out Gareth, to launch this team that, it really kind of turned into something that none of us expected. Right. And so, a lot of us spent the first year kind of everyone just all hands on deck doing things. And so by the, this is a long answer to, by the end of that first season, we really had to get to all right, we really have something here, and now we kind of we have to run it like a real business and a real organization. And so in the off season, I spent some time with other people trying to, work with Garrett to kind of say, what can this structure look like? And so, I was lucky enough that Gareth put his faith in me and as general manager, and we have such a great team here. We're all doing everything we can to make this second season even more successful than the first. So
when you walk in the door, and I mean, there were times that the momentum carried, and you had 2,000 people at these WPSL matches at Decatur High School in the beautiful heart of downtown Decatur, Georgia.
Yeah.
And 30030. And when you see all of this, did last season surprise you as a group to sit there and go, man, we got a lot of folks coming through the turnstiles? Well, how much of a shock was there sticker shock looking at the folks walking through the door?
Yeah, I think it was certainly, I would say it was a very pleasant surprise. Am I surprised about the excitement around soccer in Decatur? No. I mean, all you have to do is, go to the Decatur MARTA station on an Atlanta United game day, and you see the crowds and crowds of people all going down to the games. And so I wasn't surprised by the excitement surrounding soccer in Decatur. I'd say we were all pleasantly surprised around the commitment from the fans and the community around a women's semi-pro team, and it just, you're right. It continued to snowball game after game after game. And it was fantastic. And it was just, and it all stems, it stems from the very top of the city. Mayor Patty Garrett, she's probably our biggest fan. She's probably the biggest soccer fan in Atlanta, to be honest with you, and her husband as well. And the support we received from the city and all of the staff here. I mean, it takes a huge, what we learned really quickly is it takes a huge amount of people to put on an event like that. Right. And we had so many volunteers from the city, and it takes a village, definitely.
So when you're getting ready for the 2025 season, you take the lessons from 24 and bring them forward, other than the idea of it takes a village and it takes a lot of elbow grease and a lot of folks that want to invest their time into this. What other things are you bringing with you from 2024 to get you ready for 2025 so you can build on the success, not just on the field, but off the field?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So, and I think we need to kind of start off and say, look, if the play on the field from last year, if that was the end of the story, right, that's still an incredible story. If it just ended there, right, the fact that we put together a team in May, our coach Campbell Chapman put together a team in April, we playing in May, and we were ultimately one goal away from winning the entire Southeastern Conference, right, came in second by a couple of points, and in a pretty competitive conference, right? So if the story just ended there, right, it'd be a great story in soccer. So all the stuff off the field, we certainly a lot of learnings on, how to run a game day experience at that level and fan engagement. And so we're taking all those learnings. I think, we're excited to build off of what's happening this summer with FIFA Club World Cup. And it's kind of an advantage to us in the fact that there's some breaks in the MLS schedule during those times. And so what we're seeing now is almost all of the Atlanta United supporter groups have reached out to us and said, hey, we're so crazy about soccer, we're going to focus all of our attention on you guys during that time frame. And so we're like, wow, yes, more of that, please, And so we've been working with all the supporter groups and all of their members to come and hope, add on to the excitement that we've already created, right? I mean, they're so great at creating that excitement and the passion and the chants. And so we're excited to have that. And in other ways too, the community is getting behind this from a business perspective. We just signed a sponsorship with a big company here in Atlanta, Aero Exterminators, and they're a big supporter of all the sports in Atlanta. And I put out one email to their CEO, Emily Kendrick, and she responded instantly and wanted to be a part of this and wanted to support us. They purchased 500 youth season tickets.
Wow.
So that we could continue to offer kind of that free admission with our partners like Soccer in the Streets and Girls Inc., Girls on the Run, all of those programs, right? So we can continue to have that, offer that game day experience for youth. So, I mean, just incredible how much support we've received. So,
and you're doing it in a league where it's incredibly competitive, and the franchises that are there, especially in your particular division in your
yeah,
conference. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, it is knock down, drag out, 90 minutes of competition every single time out, and it's some of the
yeah,
best talent that you've got here in the Southeast that is clamped down in the WPSL.
yeah,
So, and you're in these markets where, if it's Decatur or Impact or whatever you're talking about, there are these core audience groups and they are locked in, and then you build from there, and you get to see all of these different pockets representing themselves when it comes to the WPSL. And I'm sure that there were some folks that that may not have known or understood the power that is there in these individual places. And I think that Decatur is one of those examples of, okay, you might look at it just on a piece of paper and sit there and say, okay, Decatur FC. But then when you walk in the door, you're like, oh, Decatur FC. So there is a difference, and there's a bit of a wake-up call for folks about, A, the talent that the WPSL can access, and
yeah.
B, the markets that they're in.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we're incredibly lucky, as you know, to have kind of the soccer community we have here with, Georgia Impact, UFA, AFU, in the talent in those games that we had here. It was fantastic. The competition was incredible, right? So, yes, it's a lot about the game day experience, but, if we weren't fielding a talented team on the field, I don't think we're going to have that same continued game day excitement and the snowball that we have. And so, yeah, it's great. And again, the fact that we were as competitive as we were, I think, in the first year, shows a lot about what Coach Campbell is able to do. And I'll tell you, in talking to him as we look into 2025, all those other teams, we've now raised the bar to a certain level here on the pitch, and he's talking to the other coaches, and we all talk amongst ourselves. And I mean, they are out actively recruiting, their next class of players, right? And so we're going to continue to raise that bar in the WPSL, not only in our conference, but you see it across, the entire WPSL. They're moving, they're signing new teams all the time. I think we had 130 teams in the league last year. I think we're up to 150 teams this coming season. Our first game of this season is a team from Alabama. They were playing in the GPSL, which is now merged with the WPSL, and so we're excited about that as well.
All right. So since you've mentioned the start, so when is the start date for the WPSL? When can folks start walking in the door?
Yeah, absolutely. So our kickoff, we try to do it at the same time each year. So we're going to start the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. Will be our first game. I'm going to be a little bit hesitant when we talk about the schedule here. We're waiting for one final sign off from the WPSL. We're hoping to be able to announce tomorrow morning. But that Memorial Day weekend, we'll start off the league or our season, and then we'll play a couple of games in May and 3 in June. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been fun to see the WPSL on the whole grow to where it is now, and to see these rivalries just kind of build organically around the Southeast. And it's a showcase. And I think, once again, we talk about soccer in a bunch of different levels and a bunch of different leagues. The WPSL is no different in the fact that you have all of these franchises in the Southeastern United States, and you're bashing down stereotypes. Everybody sits there and says, "Oh, what's in the Southeastern United States?" Atlanta United was a part of that in Major League Soccer. You're seeing it in other different divisions, and now you're seeing that also in the WPSL, where all of the talent in the Southeastern United States is now showcasing itself across the board when it comes.
It's fantastic. I think one of the biggest things we had is all of our players from this past season all went back to their colleges July 1 and said, "Man, you should have seen the experience we just had. We're playing in front of thousands of people, super competitive soccer." Our players were staying after the game 45 minutes, maybe an hour after each game, signing autographs of, kids in line 200, 300 deep. You know, most of them don't have that experience in their college games, and so you know they did a lot of recruiting for us and getting more talent to come to us. So it was kind of great.
Well, what's it like to see that those next generations, walk up to the WPSL players and get to have that interaction and see them rub off on that next generation? What's that like for you in the front office and everybody there at Decatur FC to see the impact that you can have off the field just as much
So
as
I
you
think
can on?
I love the question, right? So when we think of what we're trying to do as Decatur FC as an organization, right, we have really kind of two primary goals, which is how do we build a bigger funnel of young female athletes starting soccer, right? And there's a lot of groups out there trying to do this. Everybody's trying to figure this out, right? And so how do we create a bigger funnel in the beginning of young female athletes playing soccer? And then how do we continue to keep them engaged in soccer longer, right? Um, and so those are our two primary goals. Now, the way we kind of look at it is, look, in Decatur, we've been given this great gift of Decatur FC. And the tools that come with that, are big game day experiences, the players holding clinics and working with these young, kids in Decatur. Those are the tools we use to reach our first goal, which is grow soccer, grow women's soccer, and keep them engaged longer, right? And so, I mean, yes, we have our own internal goals of more tickets and better game day experience and better play on the field, all those kind of things. But because we're an organization, we have to be sustainable. But we look at all of those things as the tools we can use to drive more engagement in youth soccer for women. So it's exciting. I mean, I love it. I love game day, honestly, I think more than anybody in the world. I loved it when I got to watch my young two daughters grow up playing soccer and competitive soccer. And there's nothing that gets me more excited than game day. And so to see all these young players enjoying it, is a real joy.
As the new GM, how many hours a day are you right now spending on Decatur FC, and how many hours are you there at O'Sullivan's spending time having the menu as your next best friend getting ready for 2025?
I'll tell you, it probably has the best, one of the best fish and chips around. So I spend a lot of time, to be honest with you. I think, and part of it is because I love it. I mean, it's hard for me to sleep at night right now. There's so much going on. There's so many ideas. I mean, I wake up thinking about this, and we have a great team in place. So many great people who are helping us set ourselves up for success for this coming season. And they're all as passionate as I am. And I spend a great deal of time right now because it's the more people you talk to, they're so excited about it, and that energy kind of keeps inspiring us to do more. I mean, it's definitely become a full-time job, no doubt about it. So.
No doubt about it. Looking forward to it. And congrats on the new line on the business card for you, being general manager at Decatur FC at the WPSL, Joel Gould. It's great to see you, my friend. You know that we'll be knocking on your door a lot. We're going to be seeing a lot of each other come WPSL season. Thanks for dropping by and opening the curtain on 2025 for us. Congrats on the new gig. And I know that probably I could walk by O'Sullivan's 2 or 3 times a day, and you're probably just going to be sitting there buried in your computer trying to get things done.
Hope to see you soon, though.
Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you soon, my friend. All right. That is the new general manager at Decatur FC. And so it's always great to catch up with our friends in the WPSL, find out what's going on there. And so Joel's the new GM at Decatur FC. So they're getting ready for 24. They're getting ready for 25 after what happened in 24. And it was a fantastic 2024 season. Full disclosure, as a resident of the city of Decatur and knowing other residents of said city, to see the first couple of home matches and to see the crowd continue to build and build and build, and you see this happen. Well, and yes, I know that success on the field is a part of it, but knowing, and that was why I wanted to ask Joel this particular question about where you have all of these different franchises and all of these different pockets of their particular cities and the success that you're seeing. Like I said, whether it's whether it's Impact up in the Canton area, whether it's Decatur FC, having all of this happen organically and have it happen out there in the community. You have folks who are spending like 9 gazillion hours a week making sure that these projects can get off the ground. And then once they get off the ground, how do you maintain? How do you have success? And what does success mean on the field and off? And so to see 2,000 people walk in the door at Decatur High School, to see the visitor stands start to fill up as well as the season continued, to have folks, for those of you that have never been to Decatur High School to see a match, there's a tree that is a part of the visitor stands. And as things were to continue to grow attendance-wise for Decatur FC, you would start to see folks, and this is in late spring, early summer, where it could be 90 degrees, matching humidity, and you still had 2,000 people there. You had folks on the opposite side trying to find seats, and they would kind of hide under the tree on the visitor side so they would get shade and they would still be able to watch, and you would see the visitor stand start to fill as well. So it was a great first season at Decatur FC. And so now it's like, what do you do for an encore? And that's what Decatur FC is looking into right now. So once again, it's great to catch up with Joel and get the latest on what's going on at Decatur FC. Successful first year on the field and off. And so now they're heading into year 2 coming up soon. And so I guess we caught up with Joel a day early, because they were discussing things that were going to be breaking tomorrow when it comes to other news and things when it comes to Decatur FC. So we should have had him on tomorrow, have him break the news on tomorrow's show. That would have been the way to do it. And this is the producer yelling at the host going, that's the way this should have been done. Anyway, it's great to catch up with Joel and find out what's going on there at Decatur FC. So and this is another thing that we like to discuss here on the network and on the show. Always, try and support your local clubs. Doesn't matter what, doesn't matter the division, doesn't matter doesn't matter the time of year, doesn't matter the club, doesn't matter the division, doesn't matter the level on the pyramid. We always want you to go out and support your local clubs and be a part of that fabric, whatever that entails. You go to a match, you buy the gear, you do both, you go and hang out, you find out what's going on. Maybe you become, a game day volunteer, maybe you become active, maybe you become a GM. But we always want you to support your local clubs wherever your local is, because there's nothing better than growing the game, starting it at the local level and repping your local club. And there's nothing wrong with repping your town, your city club, and then there's nothing wrong with repping your local club too. Full disclosure, once again, we've got a Decatur FC sign in our front yard. So I think that was part of the season ticket package that the boss got last year, where you would get gear and you would get a sign. And so we're trying to make sure that we can continue to have the sign in the front yard and not sit there and get a finger wag from the homeowners association about where we're housing it in the yard and all these kinds of things. What part of the yard is ours? What part of the yard is not ours? Where can we put the sign and not get in trouble? So yes, we do have it. Full disclosure, as a season ticket holder last year, the boss had the sign, put it in her front yard. So there you go. Once again, thanks to Joel for dropping by and finding out everything, letting us know about everything going on at Decatur FC. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. And so let's break through all the news and get you ready for all of your promos and your morning kickoff and all those kinds of things as we go. So very, very busy day across the board. Once again, coming up, 10 o'clock, it's our buddy Nino Torres, where we go fully loaded and we take the tour around the planet and find out what is on his mind when it comes to the world of soccer. Then at last half hour, it's our buddy Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports. So we have fully loaded, 10 o'clock, 10:30-ish. It's our buddy Nico Moreno, where we take the tour, talk about CONCACAF, talk about everything that happened late last night, our time. And so early wake-up call for our buddy Nico Moreno, and we'll find out what's going on in his mind in match week 2 and in match week 3 here in Major League Soccer. And so now I have been sent the note by our buddy Nino. And so we'll find out what's going on with his. I did not look at it. Nino has given me his note about what we're talking about as we go around the world in 30 minutes. So he sent it. Now we'll find out what's on his mind coming up at 10 o'clock. All right. Yes, Abby's like, I'm so glad I can put my sign almost whatever I want in my yard. And like I said, I mean, I don't think that we're really running afoul of the homeowners association, but we were trying to, in season, we kind of had it in the more like the front yard, but when the season was over, we still wanted it to be a part of the front yard. So we backed it up a little bit. So, you have to kind of look but it's still in the front yard. Like I said, we didn't want to run afoul of the homeowners association and not continue to show support for the local club. So there you go. Okay, so we got some news, and we have some news, and it's a lot about dollar signs and things like that. So we'll get into that here in this particular half hour. Yesterday, we found out that we now have a dollar figure attached to the Club World Cup. And FIFA has basically said that it is going to be billion with a B. And that's a lot. You know, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of things involving the Club World Cup. And you know, right now they've got a quiz and they've got everything going on the with all of their news. You can get your tickets now. So we're at 100 days to go. And so what they have decided, it is going to be a billion with a B when it comes to the payout for all of the clubs that are going to be in the Club World Cup. And you know, like I said, that came out yesterday, and Club World Cup, a billion with a B. So that's going to be your that is your payout when it comes to everything attached to it. So you're looking at 32 clubs beginning June 14th, and with the 100 days in, this is okay. So here we go. This is what I'm looking for: the $1 billion prize fund, according to our friends at FIFA. $1 billion distributed to participating clubs, quote, in a new benchmark for global club football, end quote. $2 billion expected in revenue. That's what they said. $2 billion expected in revenue. FIFA reserves will remain untouched, and some of the money generated will also be dedicated to club football around the world, according to Gianni Infantino. He said, quote, FIFA will not keep a single dollar. FIFA will not keep a single dollar. So you have all of the powerhouse clubs. Once again, it begins at Hard Rock with Messi and friends on June 14th. So that's what you're staring at with the Club World Cup. $1 billion in prize money, and I'm trying to see if there is in fact an actual breakdown. $2 billion in revenue. The FIFA World Cup will not only be the pinnacle of club football, but also a vivid demonstration of solidarity that will benefit clubs at large to a scale that no other competition has ever done. All revenue generated by the tournament will be distributed to the participating clubs and via club solidarity across the world, as FIFA will not keep a single dollar. FIFA's reserves, which are there for global football development, will remain untouched. So that's your quote. That is your quote. If you win the Club World Cup, apparently the number that is attached to that is $156 million. $156 million, you can claim up to $156 million if you win the newly revamped Club World Cup. So, and this is from Marsa and their anonymous sources. So once again, like I said, it's Marsa. We know what their MO traditionally is. So Marsa is saying it's $156 million, and they're quoting unnamed sources. And so, $156 million if you win the thing. I do not know what the breakdown is, but according to Marsa's article, by walking in the door, Real Madrid is guaranteed $38 million. Don't know if that's the baseline for every single club, because 38 times 32. Okay. The amount includes fixed sums, bonuses tied to attendance, and rewards based on the commercial appeal of the club. Last 16. So apparently, okay. So each victory is worth $2 million, but Real Madrid gets $38 million walking in the door. Each victory is worth $2 million. A draw gets you $1 million. Advancing through the rounds guarantees further financial rewards. So here's your payout structure. Last 16, you get $7.5 million. Quarterfinals, 13. Semifinals, 21.6. Finalists, 30 million, and the champ gets 40 million bucks. But Real Madrid gets 156, 158 because of the walking in the door, plus assurances, plus gate, plus all the other variables that are in there. The intangibles, as Jimmy the Greek used to call them. So they could get middle of $150+ million, $156 million by walking in the door and hitting certain metrics. You win, you get $40 million. You're one of the final two, you get 30. Semis 21.6, quarters 13, last 16 7.5. And once again, this is from Marsa plus their sources. $156 million if you make it all the way through. So that's your rundown of what could happen in the Club World Cup. And David, I do not know. I would think David's asking how much of the $156 million, if you win the thing, is convertible to GAM. It would be an interesting dynamic to see if Seattle in this tournament was to go out, would they leave the group? They get a win and a draw, they leave with $3 million. But how much? What's their outlay? How much of a profit-making venture is this for clubs? I would imagine that there are hopefully travel guarantees and things like that. You have your official airline. You can go from A to B. You got to make it over here. You got to have your things. You got to have your dailies taken care of. Where you're going to train, where you're going to be in your hotel, all these kinds of things. I'd love to know what the bottom line per team is, especially the ones that are flying over the furthest distance. What's the bottom line? What's the baseline? And like I said, Marcia is saying how much Real Madrid would clear. Morning, Jordan. So I wonder off the top of my head, what's the baseline for these clubs going into the tournament? And then we know you draw, it's $1 million, you win, it's $2 million, and then you work it from there. So $156 million for a club like Real Madrid. Everybody else, don't know. But once again, that's Marcia and their sources saying, okay, $1 billion payout, $2 million $2 million anticipated in revenue, $1 billion payout, and FIFA says we ain't hanging on to a nickel. Beat 2, 3, 4. Okay. Also, that we found out from our friends at The Guardian on the flip side of this, because there was the discussion about the Club World Cup on the women's side. Man, $156 million on the win. That'd be a hell of a lot of GAM. In The Guardian, in and of itself, once again, we had another article in there where it was, well, you remember we were talking about having a Club World Cup for women? That's not going to happen. Suzanne Rack has come up with the news. The new 6-team Women's Champions Cup is to be established next year, featuring clubs from across the world. Competition was approved at a FIFA Council meeting yesterday that also confirmed a 2-year delay to the first Women's Club World Cup. The 16-team Women's Club World Cup was due to launch in 26, but it's been put on hold. It's understood FIFA believes the delay will ensure it has time to create space in the calendar for the additional fixtures. Okay. The competition will be played every 4 years, starting in 2028. In the meantime, the Women's Champions Cup gets underway to be played annually, other than in Women's Club World Cup years. Man, there's just math that I have to think about here. Okay, so Women's Club World Cup is not starting, but it is going to start in 28, according to FIFA. But the Women's Champions Cup will continue to play in years not named 2028 and 2032, because if we get any further than that, my head's going to spin. So Women's Champions Cup, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31. Women's Club World Cup, 28 and 32. I think I've got that squared away. So so that is the rundown of the Women's Champions Cup. Launched last year of the Asian Football Confederation's Women's Champions League, and the Confederation of and the CONCACAF W Champions Cup means that for the first time, all 6 confederations will crown a club champion. And so the Women's Champions Cup, the champions of Asia and Oceania will face one another for the right to play the champions of Africa, with the winners progressing to a semi against the champions of Europe. The other semi will be between the champions of CONCACAF and South America, and a final and a third-place match. Next year's semi is scheduled for January 28th. Final and third-place matches on February 1st. Dates for the others, TBA. So Susie Rack has that laid out for us there. There is now also, speaking of Women's World Cup, looks like UK is going to plan a joint bid to host 2035 in what they're referring to as a monumental moment. England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are apparently all going to be getting involved in this. Paul McInnes at The Guardian, home nations are joining together in a bid to host the whole thing in 2035. According to Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of England, it would be a move that would mark a monumental moment in our nation's sporting history, a formal expression of interest in staging the tournament, which could be comprised of as many as 48 teams, according to McGuinness, submitted to FIFA this month on behalf of the football associations of England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. The governing bodies have confirmed. Once again yesterday, meeting of the FIFA Council ruled that the Women's World Cup in 35 would be awarded to member associations affiliated to either CAF, Africa, or UEFA. So it's a CAF or UEFA is 2035. I'm sorry, I misread the positive in the sentence. So it's either going to go to CAF or UEFA in 2035. Home nations believe that collaboration and a strong track record will give them a fighting chance of securing the UK's first major global football tournament since 1966. Okay, so it's officially referred to as an expression of interest. How does that go? I'm interested. You sit there and you're kind of going, you're like, I'm interested. Do you knock on a door? Do you knock on a door and go, hello, is somebody there? Is somebody there? Can I speak to somebody, please? And is it something like this? Is it something like that? Do you just knock on a door and you sit there and you go, is it Johnny? Keir? Johnny? Keir? Is it something like that? Johnny Infantino opens the door. Hello, Keir. What's on your mind? I'm interested. Well, what are you interested in? I'm expressing an interest in the Women's World Cup. Well, okay, then. I'm glad you've expressed your interest in the Women's World Cup. What do you have in mind? Is it literally a conversation like you have like in the Friends episodes where they just open the door and they just kind of hang out in the doorway, or in Big Bang Theory? You just kind of hang out in the doorway and you have a kind of a quick casual conversation. I'm interested. Well, what are you interested in? Well, I'm interested in hosting the Women's World Cup. Okay. Well, where do we go from here? Well, now that you've expressed an interest, that's really great. I can't wait to see what's next. Do you have to, I imagine you have to submit a rather large brick of paper as a part of this whole thing, but how does that start? Is it just an expression? They said it's an expression of interest. I'm interested. I'm interested in $1 billion. Do I walk up to a bank and sit there and go, Bank? Nelson, I'm interested in $1 billion. Bank says, okay, that's great. How'd you like the $1 billion? Tens. I mean, is it something that like, it's like, do you just walk up to Johnny Infantino's house in Switzerland? You sit there and you knock on his door, or do you have to go into his office? I'd like to schedule an appointment with Mr. Infantino, please. And what is this regarding? I'm expressing interest. Okay, well, please hold. The woman dials back. It is the entire section of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and England, Scotland, and Wales. They like to have a conversation with you. Yes, please let them in. Hear the buzzer. Zzz, door opens. Keir Starmer's just kind of hanging out there. He's up against the door jamb. Yo, dude, I'm expressing interest. Is it something that informal, or do you have to sit there and you send like the 9,000-page document first? I'd just like to know. Like I said, inquiring minds and all that stuff. But apparently the UK and Northern Ireland and Scotland and Wales FAs are expressing interest in 2035. And it also, along those lines, the United States has also said that they are going to wrap up the preparation for their bid for 2031. They have confirmed their bid for the 2031 Women's World Cup. The U.S. Soccer Federation, once again, they've confirmed their bid to host in a statement that notably excluded Mexico. Both countries had previously worked on a joint project to host the 27, but once again, remember, they withdrew their proposal before FIFA's vote when Brazil was awarded 27. And so everyone was thinking that authorities from both the U.S. and Mexico, they had indicated their intention for a joint bid for 31. And so in a recent statement, U.S. Soccer remarked that it will complete the bidding process to host the FIFA Women's World Cup 2031 in collaboration with CONCACAF and its members. A few hours earlier, FIFA had narrowed the hosting options to 2 regions, CONCACAF and CAF. And so the nomination will be decided at the FIFA Congress prior to the 2026 Men's World Cup. And so from the CAF, Morocco and South Africa have expressed an interest in hosting the event. And so you have the U.S. completing their bid process to host the World Cup in 2031. And it looks like 4 countries and their FAs are going to be getting together overseas to try and get a bid together for 2035. So keep an eye on those 2. So those probably are your prohibitive favorites, unless somebody comes in from lane 8 to sit there and go, well, we've got this bid. And you wonder how that bid ended up at the front of the line for a couple of seconds anyway. So U.S. is completing their bid process for 2031, and the U.K. is completing their bid process for 2035. So keep an eye on all of that. I know that Jordan had mentioned what happened in the UCL yesterday. Leverkusen, the disappointing loss for Leverkusen to Bayern, and also in the UCL yesterday, 11 gazillion shots. I don't think that was the official total, but I think it was close anyway. And you had an incredible night by, when you have a keeper go completely and stand on his head. And I know that we sit there and we use that form a lot, but you had a boatload of shots. Allison was in fantastic form. I think it was 1 shot on target for Liverpool. You win 1-0 against PSG in the first leg of their 16. Bayern Munich, 3-0 over Leverkusen. And Barcelona get the edge over Benfica despite playing most of the game with 10. Inter take a 2-goal advantage back to Milan. And so that is the short version of what happened in Champions League yesterday. So you carry that forward to what happened, and as I sit here and look at the odds quickly and find out where things are for the return legs. Obviously, in CONCACAF last night, it was a bit of an adventure for folks as well. And like I said, we'll get into that in more detail with Nico Moreno in the last half hour with Seattle and Cruz Azul. And with what happened, the big event last night was Herediano getting the win at home in San Jose against LAFC, getting the 1 goal on the board with about 30 to go, I want to say, if I remember correctly. It was a late night. I got into the hotel and I was trying to figure out where I could watch something. But it was a goal in the second half for Herediano. They leave with a 1-goal win. And so then they're going to have to defend that 1 goal heading to LA and LAFC next week. So what you have from all of your results from this past window, and once again, it's the 11th and 12th, is going to be the second legs in all of this. Barcelona over Benfica, Liverpool over PSG at a plus 184, and Inter over Feyenoord was the early one. They were a big favorite at minus 167 anyway. So Inter up 2, Liverpool up 1, Barca up 1, Bayern Munich up 3 at a minus 133. Your other matchups, Dortmund and Lille, were even Steven at 1-1, and this is 2 days ago. Arsenal put 7 on PSV. I got to check the over-under on that total just to see if anybody went to 7.5. Real Madrid beat Atleti 2-1 on a late goal to minus 114. Aston Villa 3-1 winners over Club Brugge at a plus 139 favorite on the road. So now this is just for my own personal edification, checking to see on totals for Arsenal and PSV. I want to see if they even went as high as 7.5. They did, but it was off the board. So as high as you could get in the juice boxes on your totals, over under of 6.5 for Arsenal and PSV, you had it at a plus 30-50. So that's not a bad run if you could get that. If you had a wild hair and for some reason you thought that it was going to go, crazy, insane, bananas Foster out of control, and it was going to be like that, over under 6.5 at a plus 30-50. Did not have that one on the bingo card at all. And I don't know how many of you, whoever, show of hands, how many of you thought that Arsenal was going to put 7, PSV. I think you're fibbing, because I certainly did not have that as an idea. Tonight, by the way, in CONCACAF, Messi and friends hosting Cavalier in leg one of their two-leg series. And Messi and friends, no surprise, they're at a minus 33-33. Sounds like a Zager and Evans tune. That's your Google search for today, kids. Minus 33-33 with Inter Miami against Cavalier coming to town at a plus 40-74. 4074 for Cavalier in the composite. And once again, remember, return leg, stadium sold out at 35,000. So very, very cool moment for Cavalier to play in front of that big crowd. Last night, once again, Seattle Cruz Azul goalless draw. We'll get into that with Niko coming up in a bit, about 40 minutes. Vancouver and Monterrey. This one was also a bit of a stunner, considering Monterrey did not have Sergio Ramos available to them. But Vancouver, we talk about how tough it is for Vancouver to get a result against Vancouver at BC Place. Plus 238 on the draw. Vancouver, Monterrey 1-1 heading back to Monterrey for the return leg. Chivas over Club America on a late goal at a plus 189, and Herediano at a plus 179 over LAG to carry those advantages into the second legs of those particular matchups. So, I did not have Morning, Harry, and David. I did not have it. I did not have it either. So I was stunned, literally, that you put 7 on the board the way that you did. So I was not. I was definitely pretty well shocked about any and all of the above when it comes to that. Did you see? And by the way, Jordan says he doesn't quite understand why it has to be Messi and friends playing the easiest possible opponent in this round. Honestly, I think the last place team in MLS could defeat Cavalier handily. You're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong. But at the same time, what you want, Jordan's like, we need draws for every round in the Triple C like UEFA instead of a fixed draw. I mean, I could be a cynic, and you're sitting there and going, Nelson being a cynic about something that's a TV product? No. I could be a cynic about the whole thing and sit there and go, well, you want. I mean, that's why you had Gianni Infantino apparently stun the planet when he went down to the erector set and basically announced that the Club World Cup was going to start in Miami when it was going to. That literally dude was there, and he makes the announcement on the field at the erector set, and everybody's like, "Wait, what, bruh?" Yeah. So, if you have, and this is the television programmer in me, having to do with what you're looking at. So if I was a television programmer and I had the opportunity to have, and I could say the same thing about other leagues and other people. If I had the opportunity to showcase Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, if I had that opportunity, and I could sit there and figure out a bracket, and I could sit there and go, okay, so we want them in the tournament as long as possible so we have as many eyes drawn to our product as we can. And like I said, this is the cynical TV programmer in me here. So if the cynical television programmer in me had the chance to line up the opportunity for Messi and friends to be in a tournament as long as humanly possible, I would sit there and go, how can I make this happen? How can I? And like I said, this is the cynical television programmer part of the program. If I could sit there and go, I have Lionel Messi in this tournament. Well, what could I do? I mean, think of the old frozen envelopes tale from the NBA draft, where the New York Knicks ended up getting Patrick Ewing. How the Knicks, who did not have the worst record, ended up getting the first pick in the draft and got Patrick Ewing that year and started the turnaround of that franchise. to a degree. How do I do that? I could put them in a round of 16 matchup against Cavalier. You're making a great statement for the sport by having 35,000 people come and see Messi and friends in whatever form the Gulfstream Galacticos are in. Do you rotate? Do you rotate that side tonight? Do you start him? Do you play him 60, and then when it's like 3 or 4, do you pull him at 45 so he's ready for multiple competitions? But in that upper left-hand bracket, Cavalier, Messi and friends, Crew, and LAFC. So that's what you're looking at. With Crew and LAFC, they're probably going to beat each other up. In this go-round, you make sure that Messi and friends can make their way into the round of 8. The winner of Crew and LAFC is not going to be a pushover. It will be a more competitive match, but what you have done is you have extended the number of eyes watching Messi and friends in this tournament. What you've done with Seattle is the inverse. You have put them in a bracket with 3 Liga MX teams playing Cruz Azul, and if they advance out of this one, they get the winner of Club America and Chivas. So, looking at it that way, do you want Tigres to make their way through or LAG to make their way through? In the low right. Tigres against FC Cincinnati, going up against the winner of LAG and Herediano. And then Monterrey, Vancouver, Alajuelense, and Pumas. I mean, this is a tournament that has the Liga MX lean to it. But when you have a commodity like Messi and friends, you want to try to keep them in there as much as you can. And so, you're going to seed them in a way picture them in a way that it's going to be, okay, they've got Cavalier. All right, so they got Cavalier. There you go. All right, so Cavalier, but the next round will be one of those other tests, and then they would get either Monterrey, Vancouver, Alajuelense, or Pumas to get into to get in toward the final. So in these early rounds, do not be surprised about any kind of structure like this to where you're talking about these kinds of things. Jordan says it doesn't make sense for Cavalier to get a first round bye just for being the best club in the Caribbean region, according to CONCACAF. Right now, them's the rules. And so, if you were to reseed, then I would probably venture to say that Cavalier might be 16. And you go 1-16, and where would you put Messi and friends in your seating and that kind of a thing? But as the rules are structured right now, Cavalier, for being the number 1 team in the Caribbean region, they get in the way that they do. So they get to kind of take a breather a little bit. So we'll see what that continues to look like. But Allison stood on his head, and that's probably $1 in the jar for me. But Allison stood on his head, and you ended up with all of that. So we'll get into CONCACAF coming up bottom of the hour. Didn't know if you saw this. And by the way, I want to correct myself. It was $68,000 with Alexander Isak. I said it was 86. I had the numbers reversed. But it was Alexander Isak, and it was a jeweler, apparently, that was responsible for Isak not being able to have all of the jewelry that he had previously, and so it was. I mean, so a professional group of traveling burglars broke into his home, according to a UK prosecutor. Traveling group of burglars stole jewelry worth $87,000, up to £10,000 in cash, and an Audi after breaking into Isak's home. It took place at his home in Northumberland last April while he was out. Newcastle Crown Court heard the thieves had already stolen clothes and jewelry worth upwards of £1 million from a local businesswoman, plus £100,000 worth of designer goods from another woman in the region in preceding days. So a professional group of traveling burglars, according to the prosecutor, Dan Cordy. And so they used the break-in footage from the doggy cam, and the thieves apparently conducted an untidy search. As well as the cash and jewelry, they also took a safe, which had been left by the home's previous occupant, but did not contain anything valuable. So Alexander Isak, robbed by a professional group of traveling burglars. Then there was this other story that I wanted to show and discuss a little bit. if I could ever spell the word Paulo, as in Paulo Fonseca. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Paulo Fonseca story is crazy. And this is the first time that I have heard of something like this. So Fonseca currently is coaching Lyon in Ligue 1. It has been disclosed that he has been suspended 9 months. 9 months by the French Professional Football League, by the FLP, following his confrontation with referee Benoit Millot during his team's recent 2-1 League victory over Brest. And apparently there was a headbutt that was in there, or at least a meeting of the foreheads. There's a still out there where the center ref, Millot, literally has a red card in his right hand, and Fonseca has his forehead up against Millot's head. Crazy. FLP said in a statement that Fonseca will be barred from accessing the bench. You can't access the bench, sir. That bench, you can't access it. You can't sit there. The officials' dressing rooms, he can't go into the officials' dressing rooms and participate in any official functions before or after matches until November 30th. Sent off deep into stoppage time for angrily reacting to a potential Brest penalty. After he got a red, confronted Millot, leaned in very close to his face before being pushed away by Lyon captain Corentin Tolisso. Fonseca tried to confront the referee a second time, restrained by Lyon players. Criticized the decision, saying the manager was not judged solely on his actions, which they described as an emotional reaction without intent to harm the referee. In light of a sanction that seems to have been dictated by the negative context affecting French refereeing, Lyon announced that it is studying all possible avenues of appeal, they said in a statement. Fonseca apologized, and he did so on DAZN. And so Millot said Fonseca's behavior was unacceptable, told L'Equipe the following: rushed toward me with an intimidating attitude, and I decided to send him off directly. There was, it seems, a slight contact with the nose, particularly intimidating, aggressive attitude, which one can hardly imagine from a professional coach. The French Referees Union said last week its members would exercise their right to resign if they or their families were in danger after a match official faced, quote, an outpouring of hatred, following comments made by Marseille president Pablo Longoria. So that's from Reuters on the four-letter. But a 9-month ban. A 9-month ban for Fonseca after drawing a straight red and leaning his head into the center ref, because literally there's a still photograph of the Millot, the center ref, and I'm left-handed, so think of me as an opposite. Millot has the red card in his right hand, and he's it's out to the side, but he is flashing it to Fonseca. And so Fonseca takes his head, and literally he is touching the forehead of the center ref as the center ref is given in the yellow card, or the red card. So Fonseca gets a 9-month ban, literally a 9-month ban. I have never heard of anything that big. But 9 months for Paulo Fonseca, and it will be interesting how the appeals process goes, how Ligue 1 and professional football in France respond to that, and then how the officials respond in kind to that as well. So, yes, and Derek, to your point, play stupid games, get a 9-month ban. It's a little after 10 o'clock. You know what that means on a Thursday. It is time. And by the way, I'm going to go find this and put the link in the Twitch pitch. Our buddy Nino had a call for the ages this past week. And this will be your listening experience, your listening pleasure that you will have coming up in short order. I'll post the link in the Twitch pitch. But, since it is after 10 o'clock on a Thursday, East Coast time, this is where we go to Lima, Peru. And if you would, sir, please greet the audience as you wish to greet them, as you always do, sir.
Yellow. Soccer down here, fans. Nino Torres fully loaded here. That's every Thursday. Happy to join here, Johnny, on this fantastic morning for soccer and for the world, guys. How's everybody doing? I'm doing fantastic.
And I mean, you are doing fantastic, and you are the man. So let me, before we go any further, I'm going to do the public service, and I'm going to post the link to the Ignacio goal that you yourself posted, but I'm following suit. And so everyone can go, not now. We don't want them to go now, but it's in the Twitch pitch. And so you need to go and listen to your call of the day, and you do it right there for the Ignacio call that was done over the weekend. So we are running around. I'm in a hotel room about 90 minutes south of Atlanta because I'm doing live television for high school basketball coming up. We started yesterday, and so I'm here all week.
Nice.
And so, yes, I'm in a hotel room, as you couldn't tell, with the exceedingly
I can tell.
beige and neutral background. You have sent your list, as you always do, and it is time to go fully loaded for yet another week. So what we're going to do now is as I traditionally do, I do not look at the list. I sit there and it's like whatever's on the man's mind. I have no earthly idea. I see it for the first time when we bring it up. Now, all right, topic number one, as we tour the world in 30 minutes. Well, actually, tell you what, let me invert, because since I flashed the play of the week for you, let me go to the fourth topic because it's directly related. Portugal entered the last stretch of the tournament, and Sporting CP is still at the top of the standings, and they will ... Finish your sentence, sir. What is on your mind? And they will
repeat the title in Portugal. I know there's a lot of people, particularly especially the Sporting Club fans, that they're not happy about it. They're not want me to jinx their season. They don't want me to say things before they leave the trophy, before they actually got hands on the trophy. But I don't care, because I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. They say, no, be careful with what you wish, right? I'm never careful, man, because I always wish fantastic things and positive things. And I think this is one of these seasons that and it's going to be special for me, because not only in Portugal, but for me, since I'm calling the league, no one repeat the title. Not a single time that we got to repeat since 2019, the year that I started calling the Primera Liga. But this year, it started all in a different way, right? The Sporting was just running over people. The first 10 rounds, they were perfect. Then Amorim left, and then they got a new coach. They fired that coach to get another coach. The coach tried to figure it out, the system, the players' injuries. It is crazy, because there is an image during this last game. There were the camera showed the five starters, not on the bench, brother, on the stands, because you cannot play. All injury, all suspended. Got a couple more that I'm missing out right now. 5 starters, and without 5 starters, Sporting remains at the top of the standings. They're not winning in a spectacular fashion now. No. They're struggling in the second half, especially because now they have to rely on 2 19 and 17-year-old kids to sustain the ship, right? And I trust you, brother. I know it's just the last stretch of the season. Every single game matters. I don't care, brother. You are in charge at the 17 years of age, so you better perform. And they just manage their way to win games. It's like the margin forever in the last season. But as long as Sporting keeps winning, it doesn't matter, right? Because they have the goal differential. Benfica will have to score a couple of 8-0, 10-0 games in order to catch up on the goal differential with Sporting, which is not going to happen, right? But the thing is, in March, which is nobody plays against each other. No, Benfica doesn't play against Porto, no Braga, no Sporting. So they're going to play against the low-tier teams. And in April, we got 4 clásicos.
Okay.
It's Benfica, Porto, Sporting, Porto, Braga, Benfica. And it's just that's when you got to get there with your cushion of points that you're going to earn in March. Because if whoever drops a point in March, they're going to make him pay. But I don't think Sporting is going to lose any single game, and they're going to win it again. My boy Derek Gomez on Tuesday, he's always, taking his heart pills because I drive him crazy with my predictions. But I think they're going to win. they will win the championship.
But at the same time, I mean, this has been one of those up and down seasons that we've talked about for Sporting. How much of Sporting is going to be there next year, considering that I think that probably half the roster is on Ruben Amorim's hit list to bring them in to bring Manchester United up in the Premier League. Oh, he's getting hydrated. This is the kind of answer for that.
You know what? We were just talking about that during the broadcast on this last game for Sporting, talking about Victor Gyökeres and how I believe that he's gonna go. He's not gonna go anywhere. That he's gonna stay. All right. And they was like, "What? What are you talking about, Nino? Why are you saying this? He's the best striker on the planet." I know, but he's gonna turn 27 in June. 27. All right. This is and in this world, right? In order to get up the big box, you gotta be still under 25.
Okay.
If you're not under 25, the teams are not gonna pay the big money for you. I don't care if they scored 250 goals last season. No, it's not gonna happen, right? But what about Lewandowski? Well, Lewandowski went to Barcelona. But he already had 450 goals on his career. He was the all-time leading scorer in the Bundesliga. And that's a different category, right? I'm not saying that he's in a different category. I think he's in the top 3 strikers, top 5 strikers in this century. Lewandowski. Victor Gyökeres is not in that category. He's not in that conversation, and because he still has, a career to go through. But because of these last 2 seasons, I think it is not gonna be enough to put him in that category with Lewandowski, Luis Suarez, and everyone else on the other 4.
Okay.
players.
I mean that makes a lot of sense. I still wonder how Barca's really paying any bills, considering probably anybody that they walk. I mean, seriously, when you're trying to bring a player in, it's like, well, we can offer you a 12-pack of Twinkies and a pack of Marlboro Reds and maybe a weighted mattress. And can we have him for that? No,
Right.
but we're Barcelona.
And you got free meals. You got free meals on the restaurant in the corner.
Yeah,
right?
It's like you get the gift card to go to McDonald's or something. You get that too added to the deal. But I just don't know how Barca's paying bills and magically making things appear that it's like, tell you what, we're lacking money. So why don't we sell future suites in a stadium being renovated that we don't know what it's going to look like, but what we'll do, tell you what, the seats that you're going to have in this new stadium, they're going to be epic. You should buy them. And apparently people are. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and buy a seat that doesn't exist. And so that way you get money you get like $1.98 to go with your Twinkies and your menthols to go and bring in players. It's like, I love when we talk about gossip, rumor, and innuendo at the end of the show. I always love it when we sit there and it's like, when Barcelona's interested in blank, and I'm sitting there saying, well, I'm interested in $1 billion blanking dollars myself, but I don't quite see that happening. Barcelona's interested in, all these dudes from around the planet. I love how they're going to their shopping list and it's like, well, I've got this and here's a piece of pizza I found in my sofa. That's how they're paying for these things. It just drives me nuts that everybody sits there. Barcelona's interested. I don't care. How are they going to pay for it? Anyway,
it's just unreal. That's how you get away with things.
I know. Since we're in La Liga, this was my way of steering into the La Liga conversation. The unraveling capacity. The topic 2, the unraveling capacity of Atletico de Madrid to sign elite strikers. Please explain, sir.
All right. So everyone talks about Gyökeres, Haaland, and many and Mbappe, and Julian Suarez has 22 goals in 32 games, brother. 22 goals in 32 games. All right. And he is joining the list. These are the names here, right? These are the names of the strikers for Atletico de Madrid in the last decade. Lucho Suarez, Diego Forlán, Kun Agüero, Diogo Costa, Griezmann. You got David Villa, Falcao, All right, you put all those together, and you got like 1,000 goals, more than 1,000, more than a
And when they
thousand.
walk in the door,
Yeah,
they're also
more than.
north of the age of 30.
And you know, it's just why nobody talks about this, man? Because everybody's of course we were in the Messi Ronaldo era for a long time. That looking another team in Spain was kind of almost like, oh yeah, we don't care about them. But it's just I don't know, the scouting, the front office of Atletico Madrid, but they have this keen eye to sign players that, I mean, strikers that they were not super elite, but then once they got into Atletico Madrid, they got elite numbers, and nobody talks about that. And nobody, I don't think that Atletico Madrid gets enough credit for what they do. All right, and I know that Simeone has been there for like, I don't know, 15 years already.
74 years.
He's right and a half. And he's close to get to Fergie's numbers. He's so close to get to Fergie's numbers. And let's please give the guy some credit in Atletico. And that series with Madrid is not close, huh? It's just it's right there, brother. It's 2-1 only. And you know, these guys, they love to ruin parties for Madrid, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see, right? I'm not gonna put my hands on it. I'm not gonna throw the Nino Damas prediction on that one because it's Real Madrid, you know. And if they oust Madrid, it will be the biggest upset of in the history of the game.
Why?
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine taking out Madrid with Mbappe in there?
Why do we always seemingly throw dirt on Diego Simeone and
I
sit
know.
there, and all of it? Then at the end of the day, it's like Simeone just sits there and, you know, he's in his black suit with the black shirt and the black tie and and he's just hanging out in the corner going, yeah, keep going. And he keeps coming out the other side. Why do we keep throwing dirt on Diego Simeone as much as we do?
And I think because we think of him as Rafael Nadal, you know. He loves to hassle. He loves to be the underdog. He loves to fight back and fight again and never stop fighting. He is just the probably the I don't want to say the most underrated coach. He's not the most underrated. There are a few others that I can think of right now, but it's just the spotlight that Real Madrid and Barcelona takes away from him. If he would have been in a different league, I don't know, maybe I don't know, in Serie A, right? Serie A, and getting the numbers as he's been getting with Atletico Madrid, he'll be in a different category now. He'll be recognized as a and I put the Serie A because the style of play in the Serie A, right? I think he'll be. They'll make it a statue out of him in Rome or Milan or one of those big cities in Italy, but not in Madrid. No, he had the. I'm not saying the bad luck because. But in the case of the players too, right? You were unfortunate to play in the Messi Ronaldo era. He was unfortunate to coach in this era too. He would have more titles if it wasn't for those two, man, for sure.
Well, is it also maybe something to do with style of play where there are times where Simeone just wants to grind it out, and it's just like, I'm going to turn this into a staring contest and make you blink first and be all physical and get you off your game. And if you win, if I win 1-0, and if I'm Diego Simeone and I win 1-0 on a grinder, bottom line, end of the day is I'm going out of there with a win. It doesn't matter how I do it, but I'm coming out of there with a win. And he just drives people nuts with how he does things stylistically.
I know, and it's this part of the Pep Guardiola school, right? You know, there's a lot of people, you know, and that Pep, he's the god, but then the other types, the other styles of play that also get you the results, and no matter how you get the results, the point here is at the end of the day, how many points do you get? Oh, I got 70. How many you got? 60, but I play fantastic soccer. I don't care. I don't care. They play, like a freaking the Russian ballet or whatever. You're not getting as many points as I got. So I'm on the Simeone side. That's probably why I'm on the Universitario style of play. That's the kind of play that I'm identified with. That's me.
All right, fine. So since you mentioned Universitario, we're going to go to topic number 1 on your list. Peru, one step away from making history in the Copa Libertadores. And by the way, if you have not had the chance, those of you who are here on the network, our buddy Howard Hamilton from Soccer Metrics has the Copa Libertadores show that we put out on our platforms fairly regularly. So Peru, one step away from making history in the Copa Libertadores, sir, now that you are once again hydrated. What are we talking about?
Not 1 year, not in a single edition of the Copa Libertadores. The Peruvian Soccer League had 4 teams in the tournament. Never in the history of the Copa. We got 4. Now we're 1 win away from getting all 4 Peruvian teams in the Copa Libertadores. 1 win away. But Alianza Lima is going to play the Portos Iquique. They beat Iquique in the first leg. Now they're closing the leg in Lima. And based on what I saw from the first game, I think Alianza Lima has incredible chances to advance in the next round and join the party. And in the other case with Melgar, it's crazy because they've been playing better away than they were playing at home. And again, last night they lost to Cerro Porteño 1-0 from a penalty. Got a penalty only. If it wasn't for that penalty, it would have been 0-0. And I'm pretty confident that Melgar is going to take care of business in Asunción, and they will get us into the fantastic 2025 for the Peruvian Soccer League. And not only that, John, because there's a possibility because of the way that these 2 teams are qualifying, coming from the first round of qualifiers up until the group stage, that we might have a Clásico. So we might have 2 teams from the same country in the same group. So that might be Universitario Alianza in the same group. That's just going to be, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not ready for that yet, but it will be epic. It will be epic. We got that super Clásico, 2 Clásicos in the Copa Libertadores. You can bury me tomorrow after those games, brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, no. We would need to bury you after you come on to go fully loaded. We'll bury you the day after the fully loaded after we talked about it. How about that? Why don't we do
all
that?
right. Sounds good.
So Barcelona over Corinthians. Barcelona over Corinthians 3-0 last night, and the Cerro Porteño 1-0 at a plus 384 in the juice boxes, by the way. Cerro Porteño plus 384 beats Melgar 1-0. And you mentioned Alianza Lima, who, by the way, was a plus 231. So they were the dog going to a Deportes Iquique, winning that one 2-1. So,
Johnny, do you get a chance to catch any of those games from last night from Barcelona?
I have not. That's why I'm asking you what's going on.
Just please check this, all right? I want to give you the topic, and you gotta just Google it right now because you gotta see this suit, brother. You gotta see the suit of Segundo Castillo, head coach for Barcelona. He was wearing a tuxedo.
Oh, I saw that. Yes,
a white tuxedo. He was wearing a white tuxedo, and Barcelona destroy Corinthians 3-0. And I don't think that I mean, Barcelona, it's a dark horse in the competition. I'm pretty sure they're gonna come up on top because Corinthians struggle with the Venezuelan team, with Universidad Central of Venezuela in the previous round. So they let them score 5 goals in the 2 rounds. So I don't know Corinthians. I don't know. But those Barcelona side, it's pretty powerful, man. You check these 2 names. All right, I'm gonna give you 2 names to follow in Barcelona. One is Otavio Rivero, the striker for Barcelona, and the other one is Janer Corozo, the winger from Barcelona, who also playing Everton. They were in conversations to get him to Universidad de Portos. In the end, it did not happen because of the money. But fantastic players to watch, man. Otavio Rivero and Janer Corozo.
Okay, Boston River is a big dog tonight in the last first matchup of the qualifications. Bahia goes to Boston River. Bahia is a minus 135. Boston River out of Uruguay is a plus 409. And then qualifications, the second legs, they are on the 11th and the 12th. So by the time you come back next week, you really will be talking about a bunch of stuff in the Copa Libertadores as we go. And like I said, our buddy Howard Hamilton at Soccer Metrics has the Copa Libertadores show here on the network as well. Okay, topic number 4 has to do with River Plate and the way that you phrased it. And like I said, I just read it as is. Gallardo, comma, no medal, comma, no shoes, comma, no glory for River Plate. Gallardo, no medal, no shoes, no glory for River Plate. It's almost like no shoes, no service for the Gallardo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's just, you know, who started this nonsense of taking the medal off? You remember? Do you remember who was the first one? Remember? Because then it became like a trend, like the team that comes in second place gets the medal and the players take off the medals, right? Right.
Yes,
So I'm gonna start with this. Do you remember who was it? The one player that started this trend? It was Hernan Crespo in 1996 in Atlanta when they lost in the finals to Nigeria. When they got the silver medal, he was like, "All right, yeah, I'm not taking it off. I'm not taking this." So, but Gallardo did something even worse last night. Even worse than that. He didn't even show up. All right, the players were getting their medals for second place in this Super Copa Internacional, as they call it, but they're only playing in the Argentinian teams. I don't know what's international about that, but anyway, they still lost the cup, and he didn't go. He didn't go. He let the players go get the medals, and then in the press conference he said, "Yeah, it was my bad. I was trying to do. I lost focus. I lost focus." I mean, you lost focus, but you still gotta go, brother. What are you talking about? It was unclear, right? But then again, he comes up because they lost another final, not another final, but another tournament. Out of the tournament, they were in fourth place in the Superliga, and things are not going well. He's not playing Miguel Borja, the Colombian, who's just a massive striker. Johnny, why coaches got into their stubbornness, and no, I don't like this player, bro. He scored 450 goals. Why are you not playing him? Well, because in my system, I believe that this should be going like in this way and that way. Where are the goals? Tell me who's scoring the goals for you. If your system is so perfect, so unique that you need your striker to run the shims and run the what is it, the defensive tactics or whatever, my striker has to score goals. All right. You ask me for any other things, okay, I might do that, but my main job here is to score goals, not to run behind the wing back, not to cover the post. No. My job is to score goals. Anyway, having said that, how many? I say 60, 30 millions, $30 million they spend in signings this close transfer window. And show me the money, Gallardo. Huh? It's not there. He's coming with this sort of explanations that to explain something that we see every night and every day on the pitch. It's the second. What's the word for this? I forgot, man. The sequels. The sequels. For coaches usually is it doesn't work. Usually it doesn't work when Bianchi returns. There are many examples of coaches returning and not getting the glory that they left. Right, the status of the almighty teams and almighty Gallardo. He's struggling, brother. He's struggling big time,
Mm-hmm.
and mainly because he's trying to bring back the team that he left instead of working with what you have and getting a new. I mean, getting a new identity, a new. I mean, it's your style of play, but with different actors. Actors perform in different ways, different categories. That's why you sign. That's why you do castings. That's why you do castings, right? Get your castings right and get the right play for the right guy. No, this is my guy, but your guy is 54 years old. I don't care. I'm still gonna play. And then what happens? This happens. You got a bunch of over 30-year-olds in River Plate, and many of those are from the first era of Gallardo in River Plate. So not the players that they were performing at a high level before Gallardo arrived. They're not being taken in consideration. So why not? No, because that's De Michel. Bro, this is your team. These are your players. Stubbornness is probably the worst for coaches, man. And we've seen that in many coaches.
Hubris is a dangerous thing. All right. So what are you calling? Where are you at? What are you doing? That's a great official way to ask what's going on in your world. Where are you at? What you doing? What you calling? What you
We're
calling?
doing the big dogs of Portugal this weekend. Benfica plays Nacional, and then Sporting goes to Casapia. That's a tricky game for Sporting. And then we got the Uruguayan League, and we got a crazy game on Monday, right? It's people might not get it identified with these teams, but just telling you to watch this game on Monday, 3:30, Famalicão versus Rio Ave. All right, there's some mid-table teams, but I mean, it's just so interesting to watch. You'll see the capacity. You see different names, different players, and sometimes these games they turn up spectacular. And I have high expectations on this game on Monday, man.
Obviously, and it's always great to catch up with you. And that's why we always promote Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, because there you can get Gold TV. There you can watch our buddy Nino Torres and be prepared when he comes in every Thursday as we go fully loaded. As always, my friend, avoid whatever vehicle has been backing up into your subdivision for the last 15 minutes. I swear to God, there's some 18-wheeler delivery truck that is in your part of your town, and all he does is back up. He's just been backing up for like the last 15 minutes. I don't know. I hope it's a special delivery for you and the man that is in control of everything there. I love you, my friend. Great insight as always. Great to see you, and we will catch up with you again next week because we always enjoy going #fully loaded. Be well, my friend. Be safe, and we'll catch up.
Thank you, Johnny. Soon. See you next week. Take care, guys.
You got it. There goes Nino. And like I said, it's always fun. It's like, what show, literally, what show can we go from Decatur, Georgia? Well, actually, from Macon, Georgia, back home to Decatur, to Lima, Peru, as we anticipate, catching up with our buddy Nico Moreno here from Seattle. So literally on Thursdays, we go from wherever I am on the planet to Lima to Seattle to cover everything. And it's always fun. Like I said, it's always fun to catch up with our friends. They always bring the different perspectives and always bring the different viewpoints and open us up to things that we don't know about and things that we need to know more about as we continue to grow the game. And like I said, literally, we talked about what? We talked about Portugal. We talked about Copa Libertadores. And like I said, Howard Hamilton does great work. And I think it is the only Copa Libertadores review preview show that is out there today based here in the States. And so Howard, our friend who is the creator of Soccer Metrics, he gives you the Copa Libertadores. So we talk Copa Libertadores, we talk Portugal, we talk River Plate, we talked everything going on, and we talked about Nino and his beloved Peru. So I mean, literally, where else on the planet can you talk about these things? One place, right here every Thursday, as we go all over the place and kind of cover the world in very, very short times. Look, 2 hours. The 2 hours we cover everything going on the planet. We visit Peru. We visit Seattle. We talk MLS. We get you caught up on all the international league play, and we promote where we all can kind of just continue to grow the game. And it's a great education for me, and I hope it's a great education for you because, like I said, we get to catch up with our friends. We get educated at the same time. We find out what else is going on in and around the planet every single time. As we go here, like I said, I mentioned the 9-month ban with Fonseca. It also appears, we were talking about the women's national team, and you will not be having one of your strikers for the U.S. women's national team. Sophia Wilson has announced her pregnancy with the Arizona Cardinals' Michael Wilson. And so she is going to be obviously taking time off as a part of Triple Espresso. And so they are going to be adding to their family. And it was an Instagram post by Sophia Wilson that said, life just keeps getting sweeter. And it's the two of them. And it is a picture of the sonogram. So they met when they were at Stanford. And so right now you have Trinity Rodman, who chimed in saying that her life is complete. Morgan Weaver with her thoughts as well. And so now you have Sophia Wilson, who's in the final year of her contract with Portland, would be a free agent once that contract expires. So keep an eye on Sophia Wilson and what happens after her contract expires in the NWSL up in Portland. Right now, husband plays in Arizona, maybe San Diego, maybe Denver. We'll see. All right, last half hour of the show. And we're going to no dilly, no dally, because we got plenty to talk about. A long way to go and a short time to get there. We're westbound and down. Just watch Old Bandit run. That's a Jerry Reed reference for a 1975 movie, Smokey and the Bandit. Go watch it. It's a good movie. Okay. For this one, we know it was a late night because he look, the man's not even wearing a hat. That's how late it was last night for our buddy Nico Moreno. And as we bring you in, you're not even wearing a hat. You look like it's like you're rolling on like your second cup of coffee and you're trying to get everything squared away. How many cups in are you?
Yep, this is actually cup number 2 right here with the Juan Valdez cup right there. Just getting it started, man. But happy to be here. Happy to be on with my HDH Familia. Just a late night for sure, man. I'm trying to not use so much hats, man, because somebody told me that it was going to turn me bald and all this stuff. So I was like, the more hats you use. So now I'm freaking out. So now I'm just a lot of hair, I'm going to try to get cut up a little bit more often just so I could show the hair a little more, man.
All right, and there's nothing wrong with flashing the lettuce. We know how it is showing the flow. I'm right there with you, because I will I legitimately will wear a hat once, and then put it off to the side and have it. If I want to go back and wear it again later on. But most of the time now, I buy a hat to buy a hat as an experience, and then I put it in the stacks after wearing it once and bending the rim and everything to where it's all lined up and good to go. So I trust me. I know of what you speak when it comes to wearing the hats and all of the hazards therein. All right. The reason it was a late night for you, and we mentioned that you broke the news about La Máquina and Cruz Azul leaving a lucky 7 home that included Yorgos Giacomakis for those here on the eastern side of the Mississippi. 7 players left behind. Coach was confident. Ended up a goalless draw in leg 1. What are some of your takeaways from Cruz Azul and Seattle late last night on the?
Yeah, man, there was a lot to take in. Look, first of all, I got to start off with it. It does feel like this was a missed opportunity for Seattle to make the home field advantage and the actual reality that you were facing a diminished, diluted Cruz Azul squad. And that's plain and simple, right? I understand why Brian didn't necessarily acknowledge that, why as a coach you need to make sure that you keep your team with a positive attitude. And he basically said, look, that's a team that we had to play with. And they did have a good game. I thought that there were moments where Seattle was able to not just inflict their game plan, but they had a bunch of opportunities, man. And I honestly hate to be the guy that brings this up, but I got to address the big, fat, rave green elephant in the room. And is that people and in general senses, you begin to feel like, here we go again with the issues of 2024. We can't score. We can't finish games. There's issues with Jordan Morris finishing, because those opportunities that came about yesterday, man, Jordan has to put those away, man. And I understand that soccer is a difficult sport, and being a striker is something that you really have to master. And he's been doing so great at it. He really has developed so much as a nine, as a striker. But yesterday, man, Obed Vargas slips him through with the perfect ball. He takes a little too long, or way too long, if I may be honest. He gives Kevin Mier the ability to just cut his angle. He's unable to take the shot off. And in the second half, he has another opportunity where I feel like he kind of takes away his own angle with the direction of his body, and then he puts a shot that ends up on the post, but it should have been put away. So I understand why people are frustrated with those moments, with those situations. Nuhu also had a very good, difficult header that could have gone in. But when you have a team like Cruz Azul that's missing so many key components, their two best strikers, their top end wing back, midfielders, I mean, a center back, and you're still unable to go away with at least one goal, that's where I have the problem. And that's why I feel like an opportunity was missed. I thought Pedro de la Vega had a good game. I am really not sure if his goal that was taken back because of a offside was really an offside there. The lines are very thin. The margin is very right there, and I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for the Sounders, because it was a great moment that could have put this team up 1-0 in the second half, changes everything that I'm saying at this particular moment. But let's go back to reality. That's what happened. Seattle was unable to come away with the result, and now you're gonna play at Estadio Universitario with a full squad for Cruz Azul, with 7 rested players. It just doesn't look great for Seattle. I will say this, though, and I'll be quiet because I'm going off way too long.
Yeah.
It is good that Seattle, and looking at the big picture in CONCACAF's Cup for MLS teams, regardless of the 0-0 and the missed opportunity, they probably put themselves in the best position compared to other teams in MLS, because they did not give an away goal. Keeping that 0-0 is key, is important. Something that other teams in MLS weren't able to do.
Yep, and one of those was, and I'm kind of flipping the idea here, but one of those was the visit to Herediano, where LAG couldn't take advantage of what was going on there. Herediano gets a goal in the second half. That's all they needed, 1-0. And LAG just looked, I don't know, it powerless, neutralized, whatever word you want to use. They did not look like the LAG, and this is the 3rd loss in a row in all competitions for LAG. They have stumbled out of the blocks here, and they stumble out of the blocks, I think, in a situation that they, like you said about Seattle at home, should have taken advantage of on the road going up against Herediano last night.
They look like a dull knife. That's what the LA Galaxy look like. They look like a dull knife. You know, it. I know it's a knife. I know that, you know, it's scary, but it's dull. There's literally nothing there. It's crazy, because you're absolutely right. I mean, in this one, the opportunities were not great. They did create chances. They had moments, but they just did not look like a team that should be dominating this Herediano team, right? I mean, I have my dad, who doesn't follow MLS as much as he should be with what I do as a job, but he calls me and he's like, when did Marcus Royce, is he in the Galaxy? I said, yeah, he's playing Herediano. That's crazy. I never thought I'd see that. I said, I mean, neither, Dad. But that's what you had, right? You had all these players that are so good but I thought Christian Ramirez was ineffective. I thought that yesterday, even when he came on, Fagundes was unable to do what he typically does. He gets a chance where he could put a perfect ball in, like in the 84th minute, where they're already down a goal when Herediano seemed to kind of turn up the heat on the LA Galaxy and actually pinned them back, and were creating consistent chances. And Fagundes tries to take a first touch cross with the outside of his foot, kind of three-fingered to cross it back in, and it's a complete miss. It's an easy ball for the goalkeeper. Why not take that touch? Why in a moment in time where you're down 1-0, you know the importance of the game, you're going to take a touch like that? And there were those little moments all around this game that I just couldn't understand why they looked so out of sync. And Herediano, good job absorbing pressure, doing what they do best, which is being physical, taking time, gamemanship every single time. Ball to the goalkeeper, he's going to come up, he's going to fall to the ground, he's going to take a couple of minutes, he's going to take a couple of seconds, Honestly, Herediano did a good job at keeping this LA team off. And, there was some moments where he got chippy, where there was bunch ups, and I think Herediano just played their game, and the LA Galaxy looked like a team in trouble in 2025.
No doubt about it. All right, I'm going to go grab a visual aid. So I'm going to be like off camera for 5 seconds because you were mentioning what you thought about LAG's attack, and I have a visual aid to help folks out. So hang on just a second.
I absolutely love it. We're gonna go with absolute visuals today. That is quality TV there, people. If you're not entertained, then I don't know what you want. There it is.
I found it. Okay. So since I'm in a hotel room doing basketball championships for high school this week, and thank you for filibustering for 5 seconds, by the way. You have to make that choice. Are you going to bring in your own food and have your own food in the hotel room for the week? Or are you going to order out and do Grubhub or whatever? I made the choice to bring an entire refrigerator of drinks. So I have Celsius here, I have Kickstart here, I have breakfast here, I have snacks here. So and besides, because once I leave the hotel, I can't eat for about 10 hours because it's live TV and I can't stop because I'm doing everything and I really don't have time for a bathroom break. So I brought breakfast, here to the hotel. I have here in my hand a visual representation of what you think LAG's attack is.
That is accurate.
The plastic knife that you have with your spork and your spoon or your plastic fork where you have one of the tongs on the fork snap instantly. Like this thing, when you try to cut breakfast, like when you're trying to cut breakfast Danish, literally, this is what this knife is, but it's the only knife that I have. It is plastic, it is wavy, and it is artificial. So this is the LAG offense until further notice. And you know what? I honestly think if they got rid of those purple unis, that might be the problem. I thought, why are you in those purple unis, man? I mean, that to me is one of the larger issues. But yeah, toothless right now. They're not getting anything offensively. And you got to see Mati Bogish from LAFC now with Cruz Azul last night. The other results, Messi and friends are playing tonight. They should get the Duke. Chivas 1-0 over Guadalajara. Vancouver once again proving BC Place is a very tough place to play. Monterrey on the draw at +238. And, that was an opportunity. But once again, Monterrey gets the road goal and they go back home with a 1-1 draw.
Which is same to happen in Cincinnati against Tigres, where they were unable to make it count at home, and they started with the lead. And I thought that Evander had a decent game, not a great game. He comes off with a knock. I thought that, and this was surprising to me, that the technical abilities of Denke were really off that game. First touch, way too heavy. A couple of times he misses a shot in front of goal with no goalkeeper. Yes, there were 2 defenders in front of him, but he misses that. There were at least 5-6 opportunities where I thought a player of his caliber should have been able to control the ball better and created a better opportunity. So Cincinnati also in a bad position in a moment where I thought they could have put Tigres, in a bad position by going home with a 1-0 lead, and they didn't. So I thought Vancouver, I thought Cincinnati and of course the Galaxy, none of them really were able to make that first leg count. And now all the MLS teams are kind of in a bad position. Seattle, ironically enough, they are the ones that are probably in the best position because of that away goal, right? If you go 1-1 at Estadio Universitario, that puts you through. If you're able to just score, you put obviously the pressure on Cruz Azul. The Jesus Ferreira thing still kind of weird to me, like, and maybe he shouldn't be, because we had this discussion about Jesus Ferreira and where he fits, and the odd man out was either going to be him or Pedro. But man, there's got to be a way to put all your best players on the field for Seattle, and it hasn't happened. So let's see if it happens against Cruz Azul in Mexico in a game that is do or die for Seattle.
No doubt. All right. So I have kind of a developing story before we get into Major League Soccer, and I just want your quick thought before we head into week 2, heading into week 3. Paul McInnes over at The Guardian posted this story 8 minutes ago, and we were talking about, in hour number 1, we were talking about Club World Cup now being worth a bill for all of the clubs. If you get a draw, it's $1 million. If you get a win, it's $2 million. Marca had the numbers released where a team like Real Madrid, with all the appearance guarantees and everything, if Real Madrid won the Club World Cup this year, they'd clear $138 million. But it looks like right now it's like $1 million if you draw. So if you finish 1-0-1 in your group or whatever, you leave with $3 million. I don't know how much that covers your bills or everything, or unless they're covered. But that got me into the discussion about Women's World Cup and Women's Club World Cup and all those kinds of things. Paul McInnes at The Guardian 8 minutes ago, or actually 9. FIFA is to consider a proposal to expand the 2030 Men's World Cup to 64 teams, an adjustment that would mean more than 1/4 of its 211 member associations would take part. The idea was raised at a meeting of the FIFA Council on Wednesday as part of any other business, according to reporting in the New York Times. Delegate was Ignacio Alonso, the president of the Uruguayan Football Association. Uruguay will be one of 3 South American countries to host a centenary celebration match in 2030. FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino, agreed to explore the idea further. So FIFA, it's like, yeah, we have a duty to explore these kinds of things. But Ignacio Alonso, president of the Uruguayan FA, brings forth a proposal for the 2030 World Cup to go to 64 teams in the World Cup, in the grandest stage of them all. 64 teams in 2030, a proposal brought to the table. I don't think it flies, but this is a natural extension of where we've been, regardless of what postseason tournament we're talking about or what world tournament we're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, they have just added teams, right, for this upcoming one.
Yeah.
Look, to me, and I hate to say this because I understand the sentiment of everybody, every country should get a chance to have their country be represented. Mm-hmm. But the reality for me is that you're diluting the importance of it. Getting to a World Cup has always been difficult. It shouldn't mean that much. Panama, when Roman Torres puts them through finally to a World Cup, that moment will never be taken away from anybody in that country because it was difficult. The moments when I remember as a kid when Colombia wouldn't make it to the World Cup was awful. I remember '94 when Colombia was at the U.S. World Cup, and it was amazing and it was wonderful. And then a couple of times after that, we just didn't make it. After France, we didn't make it. So those moments should happen. I feel like you shouldn't be diluted to 64 teams. The product gets diluted, the soccer gets diluted, the experience, I don't like it. I see it as a money grab, unfortunately. More countries, more votes, all of these things that honestly are going to go into, and I hate to say it because he's such a nice guy. After I met him, I feel like he kind of tricked me, but Infantino, it goes to his pocket. So I just do not really like how that plays out. Hopefully that's not the case because I don't like it.
All right.
And please remind me at some point, I had something to share. Do not let me forget. We could do it at the end of the episode. I could do it right now. It's up to you.
Go ahead, do it right now before we forget.
All right. This is somewhat breaking news. It is. But I know that everybody's been asking, wondering where and what is going on. Where is Raul Ruidiaz going? And what is going on with Raul Ruidiaz? He's still in Peru currently, but I was just told recently that Real Salt Lake is working to bring in Raul Ruiz. They are one of two MLS teams that are interested in him currently. It makes sense for Real Salt Lake. They currently have a lot of depth issues at that position. Couple of young players up top. Raul Ruiz could bring in some experience. A guy that probably will have a pretty big chip on his shoulder if he goes there. So I thought it was interesting that Real Salt Lake could be a possibility for Raul, and apparently there are conversations to bring him in to a team that could definitely use him, and that I feel would be a good fit for him. The other team apparently is Toronto that's interested in Raul Ruiz, but I feel like Real Salt Lake is not just more advanced in terms of at least talking to the player and trying to bring him in, but I feel like it's a better fit for him.
Because both teams are lacking in offensive firepower, and I think it makes sense. I mean, Toronto in and of itself, you look at them, and Robin Fraser, all accounts, fantastic gentleman, great representative of the sport. Toronto saying that Toronto is a dumpster fire might be insulting dumpsters at this point. And they had a rough start out of the blocks. I don't know if you want to get into any of that if you were Raul Ruiz and wanting to go to Toronto. RSL lacking in offense. Thumped Seattle last weekend, obviously prepping, Seattle prepping for multiple competitions and stuff, but RSL puts goals on the board. They need offensive help. It makes sense to that lean for Ruiz to RSL.
So there you go. HDH finally got you a little something there for thankful to always bring me in, add that SDH family, baby, of course.
As always. All right, so let's get into this week and what's going on your mind. Quickly, I'll just go through the headlines from last week and lean into cliffhanger for this week. Philadelphia scoring goals. We don't know why. And we don't know how. Put 4 on Sin. Purple team put 4 on Toronto. Like I said, they're a dumpster fire. It's a mess. Nashville's also a mess coming out of the blocks. I think that people, if you're patient with BJ Callahan, right now they're easy to defend. We'll see how Callahan can adjust. San Jose continues to win. They beat Sporting. Colorado and Dallas had a 6-goal crazy. Portland beat Austin. LAFC beat NYC. Vancouver over LAG. Once again, we were discussing the problems that LAG is currently having. And Messi and friends on Sunday Night Soccer beat Houston at Hell in a Shell 4-1. So that brings us to this week, and we'll go through a couple of matches as we go here. Let's see if there's anything on the board, and obviously we'll let you discuss Atlanta and Red Bulls at the end of it all. But you look at things, you're the second match, meaning Seattle, the second match on the weekend, 4:45, so that probably means 4:55. So just before 2 o'clock local time, Saturday afternoon, you're a favorite at a +104, hosting LAFC, who's a +250, coming to Lumen, and a draw's a +238. What do you think about it with both of these teams coming out of CONCACAF and facing each other early Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, LAFC has a little bit more rest. They're coming in from beating the brakes off of Columbus. They have really simplified their game into a way that, man, I hate to admit it, but Cherundolo just seems to not make bad moves. I mean, it doesn't matter how many players are no longer there, and it doesn't matter how unattractive and, at time a bit uninspired the soccer has been. The results have been there, man. And it doesn't matter which way you cut it. What pays the bills is getting wins. Yeah. So they had some dullness, but against Columbus, it all came running. So this is going to be a difficult game for Seattle. I really do believe that a 0-0 is a scoreline that is going to continue to linger in the players. There's no way that's what they were hoping out of it. Of course, that it isn't. They've had a couple of really bad results in league play. The 2-2 breaking heart, 2-2 against Charlotte. Then you go and put a dud in RSL where nothing works for you, where you look disjointed and you lose that game. Now you play LAFC at home, man. It just, I feel like this is one that Seattle really would need to get, but it's likely going to be a draw at home, because if there's something that Seattle has been able to do is continue to work their defense. It looked a lot better against Cruz Azul, because this is a team that has given up, I think, 6 goals in 5 games. So both CONCACAF and league play. So can they do that against LAFC? LAFC team that likes to play against the ball, that's going to try to beat you off of counters. If Seattle can manage it well, I think this could be a draw, but I just don't see Seattle winning. So what's the draw line in this one for my juice boxes, by the way?
Plus 238.
I like that. 238. Seattle and LAFC, especially here, does tend to get pretty even. So yeah, I like that draw for sure.
All right, so we'll just go ahead and go through the timeline, because there are a lot of other matches that are kind of like
Yeah.
and so I want to save a couple of Western matches for you at the bottom. We'll go ahead and light it up with Atlanta and Red Bulls. What do you think? Atlanta's a plus 114, draws a plus 256, and Red Bulls coming to town are a plus 2.
Yeah, man. Look, I come off a disappointing result against Charlotte. I really thought that they were going to go out there and do magic, and Saha took the tricks away, and the bunny and the hat and all of that. New York Red Bulls has looked good defensively, offensively. They seem to be really functioning well. However, I think that at home, this Atlanta team is ready for a shake-off. I would actually just take the draw in this one if I could, but it's going to be a good game for Atlanta. I will say that, but I feel like this has all of the elements to be a draw, perhaps even a multiple goal draw, like a 2-2 situation in this one.
Okay. Let me go to some West Coast games and some teams. I want to focus on one matchup in particular. Since you mentioned Raul Ruiz, let's talk about RSL. Sandy, Utah. San Diego FC comes to town. San Diego FC, we thought they were going to be one thing. Mikey Veras has fooled us all so far and has basically wagged his finger in our faces and said, ha, ha, ha. And San Diego going to RSL. RSL's a minus 109, draws a plus 272, and San Diego on the road is a plus 259.
Ooh, that's some good numbers there. This is an interesting one, especially coming off of 0-0 against St. Louis, that maybe was more of a reality check away from the I don't know what you'd call it, almost that first game for a team that maybe gives you some extra emphasis, and you play lights out and you beat a LA Galaxy team that's proven not to be very good. RSL has not been good either, and just because they beat Seattle 2-0 does not mean that they've been good, because they haven't. They have their own struggles. I like the draw in this one as well. Boring, yes, I get it, but at RSL, a team that I feel like is going to be very careful in their trigger points, their moments to really get after it. They're also a team that likes to play very direct. Speaking of San Diego, I think this is going to be a bit of a boring matchup that ends up at a draw.
Okay, and then one team I wanted to have you talk about, San Jose. Right now, they're hosting Minnesota. They're the late game, so they're MLS After Dark on Saturday night. Plus 131, hosting Minnesota United. Minnesota United plus 179. Your draws a plus 259. What version of San Jose do we get in that one? Do we get the one that's lights out with Chicho and Joseph sharing the ball, or do we get angry Bruce Arena going up against Mr. Quarter Zip pull down white T-shirt and Eric Ramsey?
Well, look, I like San Jose, man. I really do. I understand that they end up beating a Kansas City team that most don't have very high in their standings or power rankings, but Hernan Lopez gets sent off like in the 52nd, 53rd minute, and San Jose, in the most Bruce Arena-ish way, still able to manage a game, handle the load, keep an early lead, which again, these are things that sound very easy and fundamental, but not every team can do it, right? You score 2 early goals in the first half, and then you're able to hold on to it despite having fluctuation moments where maybe you shouldn't have been able to do so. So I like San Jose. They were not as dynamic and explosive as they were in that 4-0 win, which against RSL, obviously, where, we all say, hey, tempt expectations. Do not go that far into what that scoreline was. So in this one, They don't create as much opportunities. They're not as close to on goal, but they do have the experience both on the bench and on the field to manage the games. So in this one particularly, I feel like San Jose, regardless of not having Hernan Lopez on their side, I feel like they could take this one. I feel like they can take this one for sure. Minnesota, they have issues of their own. They're the better team. I'm not going to say that they aren't, but I have a little bit of a gut feeling that Bruce is going to do some Bruce things in this one and take the win. It's just a gut feeling, man. And look, I got beat up pretty badly on my for sure confident picks last week. Only 1 out of 3 because Sounders lost. That made me look really bad. San Diego couldn't really do it. And there was one other one that I just completely missed on. But I have a good feeling about this one. Take it for what it is. But I think San Jose could, maybe start making that Minnesota fan base that's so used to being crazy and with headaches because of this team. I feel like this could be one of those.
Cut the promo for me as you lob scorchers and hang out at Pulso Sports.
Yes, sir. We're going to have a whole bunch of content that is still not up because it was a late night and I was unable to put it up. But we have conversations with a whole bunch of the Cruz Azul players. Kevin Mier specifically is a good one. Kevin Mier is the goalkeeper that, he's exciting. He's such a good goalkeeper. But we asked him about his potential call-ups with the Colombia national team here for the March matchups. He is in the bit of a controversy because so many people want him on, but he just hasn't been called up. And there is some talks about perhaps it being a specific agent in Colombia that's basically forcing him, hey, come over here. And if you come over here, you're going to be able to get on the national team. So we talked to him a little bit about those conversations with the Colombia national team. Of course, we're going to have voices from Brian Smetzer, Vicente Sanchez, Cruz Azul head coach. So go ahead and check that out at Pulso Sports. But do not forget Monday morning, Lobbing Scorchers, 8 o'clock Pacific time. We're going to break down the entire weekend. We're going to talk Sounders. We're going to look ahead to Tuesday's matchup between Cruz Azul and Sounders at Estadio Olímpico en Ciudad de F. So make sure that you watch that. And then this Friday, meaning tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and check out what we learned this week with Jeremiah Oshan, where we'll just talk about the entire week of practice with the Sounders, what came about on Wednesday, of course, yesterday. So go ahead and check that out. There's going to be on the Nos Arietes and Sounder Out Hard podcast network.
What he said. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for having your cups of coffee with us with the Juan Valdez mug right there in front of you. As always, love you, my friend. Have a safe weekend. We will catch up with you soon, okay? There goes Niko Moreno. And Niko is going to go and hopefully get a nap in or something and get ready for the rest of the week. So a lot of stuff at Pulso Sports and a lot of stuff at Sounder at Heart that he is locked into, especially with what happened last night. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Then I got to go to Macon. I got to go to the Coliseum about 10 minutes that way. Tomorrow, hopefully we can catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, and we can break down everything that is in their mind when it comes to new seasons, when it comes to mentoring, all the things in between, how they're doing, and especially if it's Mr. Parker, so we can find out about Rhode Island FC because it is their season opener this weekend. And we'll be able to hopefully catch up with them. Hour number 2, weekend whip run, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. We'll talk about every matchup coming up, and we'll run through it all. Tonight on the network, it is the MLS six-pack. It's going to be Jason and Maddie. They're going to break it down and their perspectives, and then we'll go through it on the morning show with any updated news and things like that as we go. Plus, Jason will join us at 10:30. We'll talk Atlanta United and Red Bulls coming up at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on the weekend. So looking at any and all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo that is there. And once again, as we always sit there and say, make sure that you check your sources. Just check your sources. And when you do that, like I said, we always reference the 3 and the 4-letter paper. What I mean by that is that has to do directly with the rather large star in the sky. That's the 3-letter paper. The 4-letter paper has to do with the elements that you get delivered to a box outside of your house on a daily basis. Those are the ones that sit there and they spread these kinds of stories and thoughts, and then we attribute sources when they're attached. So Check your sources when it comes to all this stuff. Liverpool now in line. They're lining up a £40 million move for Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth, the left back who's done really well for Bournemouth this season. West Ham trying to sign midfielder Angel Gomez on a free from Lille this summer. Manchester United have looked at James Trafford, the Burnley keeper, and Espanyol Spanish number 1 Joan Garcia as replacements for Andre Onana. Also, Real Madrid interested in Ibrahima Konate from Liverpool. That's the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Real also keen on Bournemouth's defender Dean Hewson, who has a release clause of around £50 million in his deal. Barcelona can move for Bruno Guimaraes, who's also of interest to Arsenal and Manchester City. I'd love to know how they're going to pay for it. Bayern Munich, Joshua Kimmich is not keen on joining Arsenal on a free. PSG is also interested. That came from Bild. Manchester United's Anthony has expressed a desire to stay at Real Betis when his loan spell ends. That's from Canal Sur via the 4-letter paper. Liverpool, latest club to show interest in Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig, although he's believed to prefer a move to London. Arsenal and Chelsea are interested. Spurs may offload Yves Bissouma in the summer as they're looking to refresh their midfield. West Ham have inquired about Tammy Abraham, currently on loan to AC Milan. And let's see, Newcastle considering an offer for Fiorentina's Moise Kean, and Everton would be open to a deal for Richarlison to re-sign him from Spurs. Now, once again, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And remember, once again, you have the CONCACAF Champions League Hemispheric Extravaganza match tonight with Cavalry going to the Erector set to take on Messi and friends. And so that's part of what is going on. CBS Sports Network has Europa League going on today. Fenerbahce and Rangers at 12:45. Roma and Athletic Club is at 3. FS2 at 2 o'clock has a match on the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. The CONCACAF Champions Cup match at the Erector set is set for 7 o'clock on FS2. Fox Deportes has a matchup at 2 o'clock from the same league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. 2 to NA has the Europa League, 12:45, Real Sociedad, Manchester United, Roma and Athletic Club at 3, and they have the Messi match at 7 o'clock. Unimas has Roma and Athletic Club at 3. Paramount Plus has Europa League and Europa Conference League, all the matchups, 12:45. AZ Alkmaar Spurs, FCSB Lyon, Fenerbahce and Rangers, Real Sociedad, Manchester United. That's your 12:45. Anticipated 3D tomorrow. Ajax Frankfurt, Bodo Glimt Olympiacos, Roma Athletic Club, Victoria Pilsen and Lazio. That's at 3 o'clock. UEFA Conference League, Copenhagen Chelsea, Moldo Legia Warsaw, Panathinaikos Fiorentina, Real Betis, Victoria Guimaraes at 12:45. Borac Banja Luka, Rapid Vienna, Celje Lugano, Jagiellonica Bialystok, Cercle Bruges, Pafos Djurgården. Those are all at 3 o'clock. VIX has all the Europa League and all the Conference League matchups. 2 to NA Liga MX Femenil, 8 o'clock, Monterrey and Pachuca. And DAZN USA has the Copa Italia Femenil, Juve and Fiorentina at noon. I'm off to the Macon Coliseum for another day, and we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. We'll get you lined up for the weekend and let you know what's on you. I want to know what's on your mind. You let us know what's on our minds, and all points in between. We'll get you through all the news, get you ready for Atlanta United Red Bulls, all the things officially official. Thanks to Nico Moreno. Thanks to our buddy Nino Torres. Thanks to Joel Gould, the new general manager for Decatur FC, for the education there about the WPSL to lead things off. So the full show will be uploaded on the network. We'll try and cut the pieces for you, and you can have those listen to those throughout the day. And then you can catch our YouTube segment all over the place on all the social medias, as the kids say. So back at it again in less than 22. Thanks for your patience, for watching me in a hotel room in Middle Georgia as we run through everything when it comes to the day. Thanks to all of you folks for being a part of SDH, as you always are. And Jordan, with his predictions, is thinking it's going to be LAFC. So there we go. That's it for a show. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll be back at it again, 9:05 in the morning. All the high school hoops on TV.